Hello and welcome back to another video, guys. That's right, today we're here with one of my big end of the year videos. This is me ranking every single movie I saw throughout 2021 that was released in 2021. So, I've seen 104 movies. So I'm going to be talking about every movie quite quickly. Also, some of you might know my bottom 10 and my top 10 because I've done separate videos on those already. Just saying, here's my top 10 worst, here's my top 10 favourites. And here we're going to fill in the big chunk of in-between movies. Also, there's a couple films here that are under 2020, for example, because they might have been shown at film, you know, I don't know, like film presentation things and stuff before 2021, but they were released here in the UK in 2021. So there's that. Also, films that I like that you might not, and films that I don't like that you might like. Remember, guys, this is just my opinion. This is me just on the internet chatting my normal shit, so don't take it all too seriously. I'd say I'm going to go quick. There's a lot of films here. I don't want this video to be too long. Also, I know people do look forward to my annual videos around this time of year. Top 10 worst, top 10 best. All the films I've seen ranked, TV shows. And yes, my Blu-ray collection video. I know a lot of people look forward to that one. That will be coming within probably in about 2 weeks' time. But yeah, anyway, we're going to crack on with this list now. Let me just scooch so we can put the posters up here. This is going to take me a long old time in the editing room to do. But anyway, coming into my last place, I mean, a lot of you know this. My least favourite film of the year is He's All That. Yeah, there was just literally nothing good about this movie. The acting sucks. The editing was appalling. And some of the styles and choices they made, like filming through phone cameras, like a lot of FaceTime type shots, was awful. I hated this movie so much. Then we have Thunderfalls. Yes, Melissa McCarthy's new film. That's right, she can make a worse comedy than Ghostbusters 2016. This film was appallingly bad. Nothing about this film was interesting. I didn't laugh once. The humour was cringy. The acting was bad. The effects were awful. It sucked. It's a terrible movie. Next up, we have Capone, Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy gives off maybe the worst performance of the year. I think he and a lot of other people in this movie thought they might have been an Oscar-worthy film because of the sets and stuff and a lot of the costumes. But yeah, this film was absolutely diabolical. His performance it rivals John Travolta's, what was it, Gotti or whatever it was called, Gotti. Yeah, terrible. Then we have Earwig and the Witch, which really saddens me because I absolutely love Studio Ghibli, but they're clearly not ready for the 3D animation style because this film looked cheap and tacky. It looked like it was a 3D movie that came out 20 to 30 years ago. The story was not interesting. The voice acting was bad. The character designs were terrible. This film sucked. Really, really bad. Coming in at number 100, here we go. We're in the 100. So those films there are especially bad for just not even cracking, you know, the 100. But anyway, here we go though. Number 100 is going to The Kissing Booth 3. That's right. They actually made a third one. Now granted, this was actually better than the second one. It wasn't as good as the first one. The first one has a special place of being so bad it's funny. Yeah, this one had a better runtime, I guess, than the second one. It's still pretty terrible. You know, it's not a very good movie. But The Kissing Booth normally come in the bottom 2 films for me of the year. So the fact that it hasn't come in the bottom 2 is a result for this movie, I think. Then we have Things Heard and Not Seen, a Netflix original starring Amanda Seyfried. This film here had major identity issues. It didn't know what it wanted to be. Thriller, drama, horror. It had everything. Every genre thrown at the wall and nothing worked. It was a confusing movie. I didn't get what it was going for while the film was playing out and at the end of the movie. Terrible. Then we have a 98, Shadow in the Cloud. Yeah, Chloe Grace Moretz. I can't begin to describe how stupid this movie is. I hate it so much. It's just embarrassing. You think you're going to get a normal sort of war film and then it just spirals with so many weird subplots, so many weird action sequences, and just no interesting characters. It's a mess. It's a real mess. 97 is going to Venom, Let There Be Carnage. This is the first big blockbuster I'll be talking about here today. And yeah, I mean, I've reviewed this film here in detail on the channel. I've talked about it a couple times now. This is not Venom. They're butchering one of my favourite Marvel characters from the comics. They also went ahead and butchered Carnage while they were at it in this one, so they've taken 2 Marvel characters down. Tom Hardy is not right for this character. He does not play it well. Venom himself is annoying and not funny. The story is boring. The acting is bad. The side characters suck. The only good thing about this film is, yeah, Carnage looked good. That's literally the only good thing I got to say about it. Other than that, this film was awful. 96 is going to Tom and Jerry. Yeah, this is a film which I wanted to like. I went into it open-minded. It's a kids' movie, but it's filled with so many bad messages and so many pointless scenes. Like, the film opens on a weird subplot, which isn't really a subplot. It is literally just, how do we open a film? I don't know, let's put some singing pigeons in there. It is literally that random. Weird film. And 95, which would, of course, is the bottom of my top 10, is going to Home Sweet Home Alone. What do I need to say? This is the 6th Home Alone film now, I think. I mean, come on, guys. We all know. Even if you haven't seen it, you can just imagine how bad this is. Okay, 94. Just missing out on the top 10 bottom. Here we go. Racking on now with all the filler films. Filler films. Down. We do get some good ones, but all the in-between films. Here we go. Infinite. I think it's Infinite. I don't know. The Mark Wahlberg one, which went to some streaming service. This is just boring. It's bland looking. The cinematography is dead. The colour palette is just boring. None of the actors look like they want to be there. It's just not good. Not good. The Woman in the Window, which is a complete rip-off of Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window and nowhere near the level of Rear Window. Nowhere near. Amy Adams gives an okay performance. Other than that, this film is just so confusing. It's starting to run with an interesting plot, and then it just diverges onto another kind of story where they make her look like the villain, and it really pulls you out of the movie, and it does ruin the movie quite a lot, I think. Yeah. Then we got Bliss. I watched this because I really love Owen Wilson and Selma Hayek, but man, this film was boring. From the word go, I knew it wasn't going to really move at much of a pace. As well, I just don't like the look of this movie. I thought it looked really weird. Yeah, very, very odd film. Very forgettable. One I will probably never, ever revisit. Then we have Cinderella. I think, debut performance of Camila... Is it Cabello? I don't know, the singer. Yeah, you know, she's a decent singer, I know that much. But her acting, not the best. And this film, pretty awful. It really does destroy such a beloved classic animated film and, you know, children's fairy tale. It's just filled with so many weird choices. Like, the songs were terrible for a start. Way too modernised for this story. Some of the casting decisions as well. Like, I'll give it to her. She was okay in this movie. But, like, James Corden. No. Chaos Walking, the film which has been trying to get through production for God knows how many years. So we all knew this film was going to be a mess, and big surprise, it is a mess. Now, I'll give credit, because I think this would work really well. I love the concept of this movie, you know, hearing each other's faults. I really think that would work well as a game. I really do. Here is a movie, it felt really weird and disjointed at times. You could tell the reshoots, and I think during the reshoots, because Tom Holland is such a busy guy, you could tell his performance was not there. Daisy Ridley's was still there because, you know, she's not as busy. But you could really tell that Tom didn't want to be there for those reshoots. 89 we're at now. Castle in the Sky. Oh, no, Castle for Christmas, sorry. Not Castle for Sky. Castle for Christmas, yeah. I got forced to watch this one. My family, it was just on TV. I think they whacked on Netflix, like, oh, new Christmas film, let's watch that. I mean, it doesn't particularly do anything too wrong, which is why it isn't lower on the list, but it really doesn't do anything that interesting, and that's about all I've got to say about it, to be honest. 88 goes to Snake Eyes, a G.I. Joe spin-off movie that no one asked for, nor wanted. Like, the G.I. Joe movies were so long ago, I don't think anyone cares. Oh, this film's just, again, it does that typical origin story thing where there's barely any action. It's all about him training and stuff, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you don't go to a G.I. Joe film for a film where there's barely any action. I want to see the action. I want to see some action. So when we do get action, it is boring. The choreography wasn't that great. And it does that typical thing where he gets the suit right at the end. It's like, we'll see you in the sequel for the proper Snake Eyes movie. You're not getting a sequel. You haven't made this film good enough. You haven't advertised it well enough that it's going to make enough money to warrant a sequel. What? There are just some films that come out in Hollywood that confuse me. Like, why bother? And this is a great example. Next up, coming in 87th, is Yes Day. Just a Netflix comedy film that sort of got rushed out. And yeah, I suppose if you're in the mood for just some filler movie, that this will do. 86 goes to Ice Road. The Ice Road? Is it just The Ice Road? Or I can't remember. I watch it for Liam Neeson. I like Liam Neeson. And I really don't mind some of his action films, even the generic ones. I know what I'm watching. So when I watch Taken 2 or Walk Among the Tombstones, I know that it is a generic Liam Neeson action blockbuster, but they're fun. This one wasn't very fun. It was kind of stupid, and there was some really, really boring moments in it as well. And I think one of the things which didn't work well in this film's favour was side characters, because there really wasn't any interesting side characters. So yeah, that was a bit of a shame, that one. 85 is going to Fast and Furious 9. My God, this franchise needs to be put to rest. I know that they're only doing 2 more, thank God. But I really just, this film was so bad. The humour was awful. We all knew they were going to go to space eventually, but the way it was done was piss poor. The action was boring. I know that these films go really far, like, with their action, you know, the Rock's elbowing missiles and stuff, but some of the stuff in this one was just... And all the interesting side characters are gone. We're left with all the boring ones now. You know, there's no Rock, no Jason Statham. No, who cares about this franchise anymore, honestly? Next up is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. They've done another Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie. I was kind of interested because of the animation of this one. And the animation was okay at times, but then at other times it looked a bit cheap. It was weird. Yeah, you know, it's alright, I guess. Some of these movies, I just really don't have much to say about them, to be honest. You know, it exists if you have kids. They might like it on Disney+, but for me, there's much better animated films out there, as we'll get to. Then we have Space Jam: A New Legacy. I was actually looking forward to this because I love Donald Duck and stuff. I grew up with the Looney Tunes. And I remember watching the original Space Jam when I was younger and enjoying it. So I rewatched that before seeing this one. And I was excited for this film, but... yeah, it wasn't very good, was it? I don't even know what to say about it, to be honest. I don't know. It felt like my eyes got assaulted watching this movie as well. Like, all the characters in the background and stuff as well. A couple of the jokes landed, but I think it was because they were so bad they were funny. But, yeah. Next up, we got Mortal Kombat. Now, look, I know a few people who are Mortal Kombat fans and they liked it, so maybe that's the thing. If you grew up with Mortal Kombat and you played the games, you'll like this, which is fair enough, but I haven't, so I looked at this as a movie, and I thought it was pretty poor. I thought the pacing was horrible. I thought all the characters were pretty boring. You know, they're all kind of just planks of wood, and you're relying on their powers to keep them interesting. Yeah. And then I watched the original after that, and I had a lot more fun with that. So, yeah, it goes to say. Okay, then we got Beckett. John David Washington movie on Netflix with, Alicia Vikander, I think is how you say her name. 2 actors I absolutely loved. And I loved the first 20 minutes of this film, and then something happens which really gets the plot, or it's meant to get the plot going. I really enjoyed the first 20 minutes, and I thought, oh, this is going to be good. And then something happens, and the film just goes so boring. So boring. This is like as average gets, I think. So, yeah. Then we got The Unforgivable, Sandra Bullock's new film coming in at number 80. Some people like this. And again, the word boring just comes to mind with me. I was just so bored throughout this movie. Like, I just sort of found that the plot wasn't really moving that well. The the pacing was terrible. I didn't really care about any of the side characters, the cinematography and the score. There was just not much effort being put in. So yeah. Then we got Outside the Wire, which was one of the very first films I watched. And, you know, I wasn't expecting those. You know, January, Netflix release, Anthony Mackie. None of those things scream this is going to be amazing. But, you know, it was alright. It was just a pretty generic action movie. Some of the visuals were cool, I'll say that. But yeah, it sort of just... yeah, it's there. Next up is a film I was actually really excited for. This is the first big disappointment of the year for me here. Old. M. Night Shyamalan's new movie. I actually didn't mind Glass. I really liked Split that come before. So for me, he sort of come back a little bit. And I loved the trailer to this film. I thought, wow, this is a really interesting concept. It looks cool. But the film just doesn't really do much. I just found that it took a while for things to start progressing. And then when, you know, the main plot of the movie sort of kicks in and they sort of realise what's going on, the plot goes a bit far with it in some areas, gets a little bit silly, I think. And then the twist at the end, I didn't think was great. So Old was a real disappointment. Sweet Girl is next. 77. Another Netflix one, Jason Momoa and... oh, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. Isabella Mercedes or something like that. Both fantastic actors. I really like both of them, which was exactly why I wanted to watch this movie. It was okay. It was a fine action film. You know, it would have been higher on the list. It probably would have been another 10 to 15 spaces up the way it was going. But then a plot twist happens, which was laughable. Like... there's been a few plot twists this year. You know, funny enough, right next to Old, I had a couple of plot twists. There's been a few plot twists this year, but this might be the worst one. This one killed me. It was so funny. Then we got Flora and Ulysses? I can't even remember how to say this one, to be honest. Again, this one came out so early on in the year. It was almost like Disney testing the waters, see if they had the balls to do a Squirrel Girl Disney Plus movie or something, which I'm really game for, because Kevin Feige and stuff probably be involved in that. And, you know, he makes good movies. He knows how to produce good movies. So I have faith that a Squirrel Girl movie would be good. This was just pretty naff, wasn't it? Yeah. The squirrel didn't even look that great at times. I thought the CGI was very rocky. Okay, then we got Coming to, spelled T-W-O, America. Coming to America 2. Eddie Murphy. I'd never seen the original, so I watched the original right before this one. I watched them back to back. I really loved the original. I had a great time watching that for the first time. And then this one was just so strange. They're not even in America for more than 5 minutes. And I really felt like it took away from Eddie Murphy's character from the first one. Like, they'd made him so like what his dad was like. It's like, but I thought we spent the whole first film sort of developing him to not be like that. So I thought it was actually kind of disrespectful at times to the first movie. I didn't really laugh much. It got a couple giggles out of me, I think, and that's about it. Yeah. Next up, we got The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Yeah, you know, this is number 74, by the way. God, we still got so many films to talk about. Yeah, you know, it was alright. Was what it was. Action film, some terrible jokes, some funny jokes, some average action, some average acting. I'm there for Ryan Reynolds, Selma Hayek, and Samuel Jackson. You know, they all crack me up. Other than that, I ain't got nothing to say about this one. Army of Thieves come out. Somehow Army of the Dead already got a spin-off. Army of Thieves, you know, it's being directed by the guy who plays the main character. That was your first warning sign. And yeah, it was just so average, this film. It was so kind of meh. I didn't really care about anything that was happening. I didn't care about him. I didn't care about any of the side characters. Didn't care about the plot. I didn't really get how it tied into Army of the Dead much, as in, like, obviously it's the main character, but, like, you know, they brought up the zombies a couple times. I was just really confused by why the film happened, to be honest. There's all these spin-offs coming for Army of the Dead and a sequel. And we'll get to Army of the Dead, but I don't think it warrants all of this. Okay, next up is... I can't even read the title, this one. The Wish Dragon. Wish Dragon. Sorry, I'm literally just screenshot my letterbox list, so it's, yeah. I can't even read the title of this one because it's so stupid on the poster. Hang on. Pretty poor animation style here. And the story is a complete rip-off of Aladdin. In fact, they even acknowledge it in the film and sort of make hints towards that. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say about that. It's just... we'll get on to some more interesting films in a second, folks. We're getting there. Next up is Kate. Another... Is it Netflix or Prime, this one? I've got a feeling this was Netflix. This is an action movie that come out. This one had some interesting moments to it, admittedly. I think where this one really fell flat was it went for too long of a runtime. I think this film definitely just could have been trimmed down by like 20 minutes, and you'd actually have a much more solid action movie here. But overall, it's okay. And we got John Clancy's Without Remorse, a film which I think a lot of people are interested in. Michael B. Jordan, I love this actor, so I was excited. Yeah, he was good in it for the most part, but I just feel like this film glanced over some things way too quick to get to the action. It almost done the opposite of what the last film we talked about did. It's like at the start of the movie, you know, his wife's killed, and then instantly in the next scene, he's like ready to go off and get revenge and blah, blah, blah. There's not much mourning or nothing. It doesn't feel very realistic. It doesn't make his character feel very grounded in the grand scale of things. Okay, coming in at 69, we've got Stowaway, starring Anna Kendrick, doing quite a serious movie here. You know, it's a slow-paced sci-fi space movie, which I tend to like them. I like stuff like that. But yeah, this one does just literally move at a snail's pace, and the plot itself is very in and ahhing. We could do this. Should we go back? Should we do this? Should we do that? And that's the thing. I think I like a lot of other films like this that fit into this genre. You know, you look at any Ad Astra, Interstellar, Gravity, they all have a plot point that keeps them moving forward. This one's very, we could do that, we could do this, we could do that, we could do that. And that's where this film just loses me, I think. Okay, next up we got the Gunpowder Milkshake, Karen Gillan's new film. I was really looking forward to this because I love the cast, I love Karen Gillan, and it looked like a lot of fun. And there are some fun moments in this movie, there really are. Yeah, I just think this is kind of where we hit the middle point of my ranking, where we're transitioning from films with bad stuff to now we're in that very middle grounded area where I think these films are just all kind of really average here. Because there are some fun moments to it, there really are, but I don't know, the characters and the connections and stuff, there just wasn't anything that gripped me in this movie, even though I did enjoy it. Next up is Cherry, the Russo brothers' new movie, and yeah, these guys have not had the smoothest ride since their Marvel expeditions. I feel like maybe they're better with a lot of these big characters and big budgets, because this movie was very messy. I think they are trying to create an artistic style, because that's the thing, while I do like the Russo brothers, they don't really have that. Whereas you can look at other, like, for example, people who work with Marvel, like Taika and James Gunn, they have their own style. I don't think the Russo brothers really have that. I think they are more just straightforward action blockbuster directors. I think here they tried out a few styles and a lot of them fell flat. And I feel bad, so I feel like Tom Holland actually gives quite a good performance in this one. I really do. And the actress in it, she does great. So there's some good things about this movie. I think some people are too harsh, but I think the Russo brothers really let this film down. Then we got Reminiscence coming in 66, which is a real shame because I love Hugh Jackman. In fact, I love the entire cast of this movie. I like the director as well. I think it was his film debut. But yeah, you know, I really like the plot, but I think that the filmmakers think that the plot is cleverer than it actually is. I think they thought they were making a Christopher Nolan movie, and it really didn't work out like that. I think the film just felt very dragged out at times, and I was quite happy when it ended, but there are some good elements to this movie. Coming in 65 is, wow, I almost forgot this film existed. Jungle Cruise, yeah, wow, talk about generic blockbuster. We've got The Rock doing some really, really stupid shit in his boat. He's jumping stuff. This is the Fast and Furious of waters now, folks. This film borrowed plot points from every other franchise that's already existed. Pirates of the Caribbean, Fast and Furious. It was popping stuff from every franchise. Yeah, the CGI was really bad at times as well in this movie. And I just think in terms of adventure films, it was really kind of... nah. Yeah. Even Emily Blunt didn't give a great performance, and she's fantastic. So, yeah, I don't know. This was a weird movie. It's entertaining enough, I guess. Disney fun movie, but definitely not one of their best. Okay, next up. Coming in 64 is Made in Italy, another new Liam Neeson film. I was especially interested in this one because it wasn't an action movie and he made it with his son. And yeah, you know, I actually, some people really don't like this movie, I've noticed. But I actually had quite a nice time with it. You know, I really loved the scenery being in Italy. I really loved seeing him work with his son. You could really feel the father-son bonding, you know, chemistry in that movie. And there was some interesting subplots. I really didn't think this movie was too bad. Then we've got... Hang on, I'm going to have a drink quickly. I'm trying to keep my voice alive because we're nearly halfway, so... don't want to be tapping out by the end of the video. Then we have Red Notice. That's right, like Netflix's biggest film ever now, which is really weird because I've seen a lot of other people say this, and I don't know who else has really watched this film. It just seems like people on YouTube who want to review it have watched it. Now, I don't know anyone else in real life who's actually watched this. Yeah, I was here for The Rock and Ryan Reynolds. I love these two. Gal Gadot gives a very underwhelming performance. I did not think she was very good in this movie. The plot is ridiculous, but it's fun, I guess. You know, it moves at an interesting pace. It is your generic movie that would come out today, but it is fun at times. I will say this, though. The CGI is horrendous. This film has some of the worst CGI I've seen all year, without a doubt. There's also a couple plot twists which are a bit laughable. But yeah, Red Notice exists. Here's the first one that's probably going to get me a lot of controversy. Some people love this movie. The Mauritanian. Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch. Now, this come out really early on in the year, so forgive me if I don't get everything too right here. But, you know, I thought the plot, of course, I believe it's based on a true story. I thought the plot was actually quite interesting. But it just failed to grip me, this movie. I thought it was just so boring, to be honest. There was some very interesting bits of exposition of dialogue, which I thought was cool. Some nice cinematography. Even the score at times was okay. But I really think this film could have been trimmed down a lot. Like, a lot. Yeah, just don't really have many great things to say about this one. It's not a bad movie by any means, but I do not think it's one of the best of the year by any means. I mean, hey, it's coming in 62nd, so... next up is Night Books. This is just a really fun little kiddie Halloween movie that come out, and I think, you know, if you've got youngsters around the time of Halloween, it's a great movie. Kristen Ritter is really great in this role. I really hope to see her come back as Jessica Jones in the MCU. Really big fan of hers. So, yeah, you know, I don't really have much to say about this one. It's a very innocent movie. And so if you've got youngsters, Halloween time, this is a really good one for them. Coming in at number 60 is Army of the Dead, one of Zack Snyder's 2 films this year. Wow. Okay, so this film is fun. I must admit, I think I could rewatch this film. I haven't yet, but I think I could. There are some fun moments to it, and some of the action sequences are pretty cool. However, it is ridiculous. There are plot holes in this, like, crazy plot holes. I know it's a zombie film in Las Vegas, shouldn't look into it much, but when you're sending someone in to break into your own safe and you need a safe cracker, it's pretty ridiculous that you don't know the code to your own safe. Like, that's how pathetically bad the plot holes are in this movie. Also, I hate the look of it. He put the nightmare filter from the Justice League movie over the entire film, and I hate that. It looks so weird, like, around the outsides, and some of the characters were a bit over the top as well. It's a really good movie here, I believe it, but there's just a dump load of crap just whacked on top of it. Then we got Jolt, which I'm pretty sure this one was Prime. this was quite fun, actually. You know, this film didn't really do anything particularly great. It was just, again, a pretty standard modern-day action movie, which wasn't good enough for cinema, so they whacked it on a streaming service. But, you know, there were some fun moments to it. It was interesting enough. So, yeah, Joel exists. I've put it here on my ranking. Okay, next up, we got the first of the Fear Streets, and that is part 1. What is it? 19... I can't read the year. They put it in such an awful font. Part 1. I thought it was in the 2000s, but anyway, part 1. Yeah, this film, I actually really respect this trilogy. I know that this isn't a super high position here, 58. But I do actually respect this trilogy a lot. This director went ahead and made 3 films back-to-back and released them weekly, which I think is a very unique idea. So I've got a lot of respect there. And this film does do quite well, considering it has to set up 2 other films. It has to introduce you to characters, the threats, and prepare you for more films. So, yeah, I do have a lot of respect for this film. It does a decent job. Some of the deaths were cool as well, and the monster was fun. But, yeah, at the end of the day, I didn't enjoy it any more than where I sort of feel like it belongs on my ranking here. It is what it is. Then we got a film called Run, which had some interesting moments to it. I quite like the lead actress in this, whose name I've forgotten, who was in Glass, I think. M. Night Shyamalan's Glass. Yeah, there was some actual creepy moments of it. And in terms of tension, yeah, I was sitting on the edge of my seat a few times, like, oh my god, what's going to happen? Yeah, and I quite like the ending of this movie as well. So yeah, this Run was a decent time on Netflix, I'm pretty sure. Then we have Fear Street Part 3, 1666. I can see the year for that one. Yeah, this film was pretty good. It had a lot to wrap up. I was so confused. I thought we'd come back to present day or whatever. In the third one, then it went all the way back to 1666. And that's the thing. I feel like this one here is the one where you can tell. Like, this is the one of the 3 films that I feel like you can't watch on its own, because it feels like 2 movies. You got the 1666 part, and then you got the bit that tries to conclude the entire story. So, yeah, I really do feel like this one, that's what lets this film down, but it works well for all 3 as a trilogy. So it depends if you look at them all together or as individual movies. And I think that's where your opinion on this film will be divided. But yeah, you know, it done a good job at what it was going for. It wrapped things up pretty well, left it on a cliffhanger for more. Not sure we're going to need more, but I'm sure if they've done well enough, we're going to get more. So yeah. Next up, in 55th place, we have Wrath of Man, the new Guy Ritchie film, which is quite surprising because he got my film of the year last year with The Gentleman. So this is a big step down. I've heard some people say they love the back half but don't like the first half of the movie, because it really does feel like a film with 2 halves. I actually found the first half a bit more interesting, I think. I think it got a bit too much of a generic action movie in the second half, and it didn't even have that Guy Ritchie action style to it that he's done with other things like Rock and Roller, and even in Snatch at times. So, yeah, I don't know. This is a very strange film for him to follow up The Gentleman with, which was just awesome. There's some good moments to this film, without a doubt. As I say, the action is still fun. Jason Statham's good in it. But, you know, the film itself, it was okay. It was okay. Then we have... I thought this would be higher. The Matrix... Resurrections, yeah. Yeah. The trailers for this were so good. Some of the best trailers of the year, so I can't believe it's here. This film feels like a cash grab. That's what it feels like. It just feels like it's there just to rinse everyone for their money a bit. I don't know. The film, it was good. The action was fun. But yeah, I just really don't have much to say about this one, to be honest. In fact, I was sort of thinking about it. I feel like I've put this too high on my ranking. Yeah. The Matrix Resurrections is here on my ranking. I feel like I've been too kind. Next up, we got Dig, which was a very early release for Netflix. Ralph Fiennes is in it, and that's enough reason for me to watch a movie, because I love Ralph Fiennes. By the way, I haven't seen The Kingsman yet. So that's not going to be on this ranking. But I absolutely do love Ralph Fiennes, so I had to watch this, and he gives a great performance in this movie. Everyone does. The lead actress is fantastic. There's a lot of really, really solid performances in this movie. Lily James is great in it as well. But that's the thing. It's actually her character's story that I sort of had a bit of a problem with. It felt like a really weird subplot for a film about a bunch of archaeologists. But nevertheless, for a film about archaeology, which is something which I'd never thought I'd find too interesting, this film did hold my attention quite well. So, yeah, dig. Then we have The Harder They Fall, a Netflix Western movie. A lot of people really like this. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it. This was a good movie. But it didn't feel like a great Western movie to me. It felt all too clean. Like, the colour palette was way too bright. And I know that, you know, they're trying to make a different, unique Western movie. But it just didn't work for me. The music choices were terrible for the film, I thought. And everyone was so clean-shaven and stuff. And it's like, I thought this was meant to be the Wild West. Everyone's clothes were really clean. Take all those criticisms aside, it was a fun movie. The characters were really good. The acting was fantastic. Yeah, the action scenes were, you know, good fun. Then, coming in number 51, Halloween Kills. Yeah, some people hated this film. I didn't mind it. At this point, you know what you're getting with a Halloween film. We're, what, 12, 13 films deep into this franchise now? Michael Myers is... Poor guy's getting old now. He's killed a lot of people now. Yeah, there's some silly stuff in this film, but it's fun. It's fun, you know. It's still Michael Myers going around murdering people brutally. And if you like that kind of stuff, which I do at Halloween, then you're going to have a fun time with this. There's some fun moments to it. Yeah, there's some cool kills, and that's all you can expect out of a Halloween movie, I think. Now, 50. Here we go. 50. Top 50. God. News of the World, Tom Hanks film. I think this is comes under a 2020 film, but here in the UK it came out in 21, so yep. Yeah, Tom Hanks was really good in this. The cinematography was quite nice, and the score was also really good. I like a lot of the sets and stuff as well. This one feels quite gritty at times, this movie, which I liked. Again, I just think the issue with this film is why it isn't higher on the list is runtime. Runtime really let this film down because there were some points which really, really dragged. They were hard to get through. But overall, it is a good time. Nothing great, but it's a good time. Coming in 49th place is The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. This was my least anticipated film of the year because, admittedly, I'm not good with the Conjuring movies. They scare the shit out of me. And I had to go see this one in cinema. And it actually wasn't that scary compared to the first two. I really didn't think. It also wasn't near as good as the first two. This is the first one that isn't directed by James Wan. Because I really loved the first two Conjuring films, even though they terrify me. This one just wasn't good. I feel like it didn't have that big, creepy villain. Like the first one, you had the 3 ghosts in the house, and then you had Annabelle had a presence in the movie. The second one, you had the nun. Here, the villain just wasn't that interesting, I didn't think. I didn't really think the premise of it was great either. The film also just sort of throws you into the plot. It doesn't really give you any time to get into the movie. It's just like, boom, here we are. We're starting. We're in. Which for me at the cinema wasn't great. I was hoping we'd have like 10 minutes of peace before you start terrifying me. But it was still entertaining. You know, there was some good scares. Patrick Wilson is great. The actress as well, whose name I'm forgetting at the minute, is also really good in these movies. So yeah, there's some good moments to it. Next up is Vacation Friends. This film looks shit. I know it looks shit, but I had a really good time with it on Netflix. It's just very pleasant, innocent, charming, fun. The film is so self-aware of what it is. And John Cena, I know he's not a good actor, but he's such a pleasant man when you can see him on screen. He's just he's having a blast during all of his movies, and I can really respect that. And I really hope we see more of him in everything. The DCEU, hey, let's get him in Marvel. I'm so there for it. This is just it's a fun time. It is. Number 47 is going to the last of the 3 Fear Street films, 1978. This one is starring the Stranger Things star. I can't remember her name. I was really hoping it would come to me. the redhead girl, the small redhead girl. She's starring in this one, and she gives a bloody good performance, to be fair, in this. She really does. And I like this one the most. It reminds me very much of Friday the 13th. They're at like a camping. It's like the lake house that, of course, Jason haunts. And I thought the killers looked the best in this one. They looked a bit more scary. And I just thought this one was the most interesting. The pacing was so much better in this. This one felt more cemented as its own movie. It didn't have to set stuff up and it didn't have to end stuff. This one was like, here the movie has more of its own identity. It's just got to run with the plot, get from A to B. And I think it worked a lot better in that sense. So yeah, Fear Street Part 2 was definitely my favourite of the three. Coming in 46th is The Tomorrow War, Chris Pratt's Amazon Prime movie, I believe it was. And I love the plot of this movie. I thought this was cool, you know, humans coming from the future to say, hey, we're losing this war, we need to borrow some of you. It was a really, really cool plot. I didn't think this film was going to be very good, but I actually had a fun time with it, you know, there was some really interesting moments to it. Looking back at it, I feel like the subplot with his dad might have been a bit false, even though it was great to get J.K. Simmons in there. But yeah, you know, there's some good moments to this film. It's a fun little sci-fi film. Pardon me, sorry. Coming in 45th place is Fatherhood. Kevin Hart. Giving one of his more serious performances of his career. And he was really good in this film. It was a really emotional movie at times, you know, with him being left alone to look after this newborn baby. Seeing him go through all the stuff he goes through. I feel like Kevin Hart really tried his best with this film. It's probably my second favourite performance I've seen from Kevin Hart after... Oh, I can't remember the name of it. The one with Bryan Cranston where he's in a wheelchair. That one was incredible. But yeah, every now and then Kevin Hart does come out with these surprising films like this and reminds me that he is a really good actor when he wants to be. Coming in 44th is the new Candyman film. I know that some people don't like this film that much, but I thought this was pretty good, you know. I want to start off by saying some of the cinematography was surprisingly good, and the music was fantastic in this film. The acting was really good all around as well. And some of the kills were really fun. There was one involving a window, like a long shot, which I thought was great. Yeah, I don't have loads to say about Candyman. It didn't blow me away by any means, but it was a fun time. Obviously not as good as the original, but it was a fun time. Then we have The Map to Tiny Perfect Things. This is a time loop movie, and I love this. It's not as good as Palm Springs, which came out in 2020, I must admit, because it felt very similar, as in one of them had been in the time loop for a while and the other one just joins. So it's a bit different. It's very similar there, but then they do obviously develop the plot in a bit of a different way. Yeah, I was rooting for these characters. The film kept me engaged from start to finish. It was fun. It was a fun time. So yeah. Alright, have a drink. Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. Oh, okay, fair play if you've stuck with this video for this long, guys. I commend you. Well done. Also, thank you, because I know this video is going to take me about an hour. No, it's going to take me longer now. It's going to take me like 3 hours to edit. Next up, we got my first Marvel film, or, well, no, we've had Venom. The first proper Marvel film, MCU. Black Widow. Yeah, I really enjoyed this film at the cinema, and I rewatched it, and it weakened a little bit. It dropped a little bit for me on my ranking here. But I did overall enjoy this film a lot. Some people were way too harsh on it, because it's Marvel, it's popular. We got to be harsh on what's popular nowadays. But no, this was good. This was a good little sub-film. I think the problem is I would have cared about this film a lot more if it come out before they killed her off in Endgame. Yeah, the first two acts of this I thought were really good. I love the side characters. Yelena is one of my favourite Marvel characters now. And I really like David Harbour's character and the mum. You know, I thought they were all really cool side characters, actually. Where this film sort of fell on its face a bit was, yeah, the villain sucked. The big evil guy in the chair, was not a fan of him. Taskmaster, it made sense what they'd done with him, but I prefer the way he is in the comics, admittedly. And yeah, it did have a bit of a CGI ending, but it is a superhero film, so I don't mind that. Black Widow was really fun, though. Then, coming in at 41 is Ron's Gone Wrong. Yep, an animated film which a few people had told me was surprisingly good. And it went to Disney Plus, so I was like, yeah, I'll watch it. And yeah, it was surprisingly alright. It had a lot of Big Hero 6 vibes, but there's a few films that have done that over the last few years. Animated films like Next Gen done that as well. I feel like it's a very popular kind of story, but, you know, for animated films, you know, making friends with a robot. But there was some cool little subplots on it, you know, that very much relate to the modern day world of technology, which I thought was fun. The characters were charming. The story was interesting. The animation style was good at times as well. So, yeah. Ron's Gone Wrong. Number 40. I Care a Lot. Wow, this film surprised me. I really didn't think this film would be that interesting, but my God. Ooh, this is the problem when you make these videos and you're on the spot and you've got so many people to talk about. I can't remember the lead actress's name, but I do know it. Rosamund Pike, there we go. She was fantastic in this film. Peter Dinklage as well was really good. I thought this film was just so fascinating. I couldn't wait to see where these characters went next. I feel like at this point, all the films I'm talking about, I really did enjoy. So we're in the good part now. This was a really solid film. Amazon Prime, if you haven't seen it, go see it. I had a great time with this movie. Just really, really interesting. And all the characters and side characters were great. I feel like the ending, something happens to a character right at the very end. I felt like that might have been a bit forced, a bit too much. But other than that, really good film. 39 is going to Godzilla vs. Kong. One of the biggest, baddest, most awesome blockbusters of the year. Yeah, this film was so good. I know it's not higher up on my list because it's a Godzilla and Kong film. I love Godzilla and Kong. You guys know I love Godzilla. He's my boy. But yeah, when they finally fight, the last half hour of this film was fucking awesome. It was so good. It was awesome. The fight was amazing. And you know what? The film was highly entertaining. It was even better than the original. I like the original, what was it, King Kong versus Godzilla in the 60s. I like that one, but this is better. Without doubt, in my opinion. The plot was just, they actually ran with it quite well. They made it somewhat believable for this universe. The problem I have is the Kong team was really good, I thought, but the Godzilla team with Millie Bobby Brown and stuff, the human characters there sucked. It really let the film down. But yeah, this was fun. Next up, you know me, I'm a big musical guy. I love my musicals. Number 38 is going to the movie adaptation of Everybody's Talking About Jamie, which was a really, really interesting film. Had a lot of heart to it. A lot of really great acting as well. Richard E. Grant was fantastic in this movie. A lot of the costumes and stuff were cool as well. I'll be surprised if this doesn't get any Oscar nods because I think it deserves it. And the music was good. So yeah. Number 37 is going to The Guilty, Jake Gyllenhaal's Netflix movie that came out this year, which apparently is a remake. I did not know that, and I still haven't seen the original, so I can't compare it to that. But I thought this was a really great time for a movie that's more or less set in one location. I thought they done so well to keep, you know, those movies are the hardest ones to keep an audience engaged, I find, and I think they done such a good job with this film. Jake Gyllenhaal gives a fantastic performance. That's why he's one of the best actors working in Hollywood today. I love him. And I thought all the voice acting over the phone as well was hands down incredible. And as I hadn't seen the original, I didn't know which way the plot was going, so it caught me off guard a couple of times. Then we have, in number 36, Titane, a French, was it French? I think it was French movie that come out, which a lot of people were absolutely raving about, and I can see why. I really did like this film. In terms of score, cinematography, the pacing of the film, I thought it was all brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I just found some of it a bit hard to watch. And in terms of enjoyment, that's why I couldn't put it higher. There were like some really violent bits, which I really struggled to watch. Personal opinion for me. And entertainment always plays into it with me. I just can't see myself ever really going back to this one. But it was enjoyable. You know, it was a really well-made movie that I really feel like it couldn't have gone too much lower on my list. Coming in number 35 is Finch, the Apple Plus movie. I think it went to Apple Plus, yeah. Yeah, their streaming service, yeah. Starring Tom Hanks and a robot and a dog. So yeah, there really wasn't much they could do with this movie, to be honest. You know, you've got 3 characters, only one of which is fully there. The robot is still very fresh, very new coming into this world, and the other one's a dog. So they really had to rely, because there wasn't much plot either, to be honest, with this movie. I know I'm not selling this movie very well. So they had a lot to juggle in terms of how to keep audiences engaged. I think they've done a really good job with that. I thought the visuals on the robot were awesome as well. Number 34 is going to this year's big controversial movie, and that is The Eternals, or just Eternals, sorry. Yeah, this film, I've only seen it the once, and I do actually think my opinion might weaken on it a bit on rewatch, because I don't have a massive urge to rewatch this one like I do Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Spider-Man. This is definitely the one I want to rewatch the least. And I think that is because of the runtime. It's very long, and I don't think the film warrants being that long too much. Thinking about it, there were some slow points that definitely could have been cut out. Saying that, one thing I think this film done really well was it did, you know, bring you a set of a whole new superhero team. And it really made you understand who each one is and what they're doing. It developed them all really well, considering a film like Captain Marvel struggled to do it with one character. I think they've done a good job here to do it with all of them. The visuals were great as well, and the cinematography was awesome. And there were a couple twists and turns which I didn't see coming. I don't think this is a bad film. I don't get why it got those bad reviews. But, yeah, it's a fun time. It's a fun Marvel film. Okay, I've got to have a drink. My voice was going on that one. Okay, come on, James. We're nearly there. We're not, but come on, James. Next up, we got Malignant. Yeah. This is what James 1 done instead of Conjuring, and I can see why. This film was great. You can sort of tell here he was going for his own, I want to create a classic horror villain. I want to create my Freddy. I want to create my Jason. And I sort of feel like he'd done that. It was a really weird, wacky monster in this one. There were a couple scenes where it looked a bit ridiculous, but I thought it was fun. The film had some horror charm to it. And yeah, it was a good time overall. Then we have a pretty new release from Netflix, Don't Look Up. Very surprised to see Leonardo DiCaprio going to do a comedy movie with his latest catalogue of movies that he's been putting out, very serious ones. And yeah, I think the most interesting thing about this film is how sad it is that this is how, if the human race was faced with a threat like this today, this is genuinely how we'd react, and we would let ourselves die, because we're that much of a pathetic species nowadays. It is a real shame. But saying that, it's quite funny, this movie. It pokes fun at us in general a lot, and I can respect that. I really love the actors in it as well. They're all giving such great performances. Jonah Hill's an absolute blast in this movie. Don't Look Up was a really good time. Coming in at number 31 is Pig, Nicolas Cage's new movie. And yeah, Nicolas Cage really does prove in this that when he wants to, he can give a great performance. The man is fantastic in this movie. Some of the shots where he's getting beaten the shit out of, you can feel those hits. They're great. And yeah, I just thought this was a really interesting movie to watch. You know, just see where the plot was going to go and stuff. And there was some really nice sound mixing in this film as well, if I remember correctly. So yeah, Pig, good time. Then we have number 30, The Mitchells versus the Machines. Yeah, this is, I want to say, the best animation of the year. This and Luca really blew me away, but we'll get to Luca. And the animation was fantastic in this. The plot was also really good. Yeah, it goes a bit far at the end, it goes a bit overboard, but hey, it's fun, it's done well, it's entertaining. I just love the characters. And do you know what? I think what works really well for this film, the plot was so super interesting before the robots even showed up. And then the robots just sort of add to it, make it a bit more of a fun action film. This was a really, really good movie. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Number 29 is going to Annette. Adam Driver. Wow, this guy is such a good actor. Also, the actress in it, I love her as well. The music was done by Sparks, I think, and the music was really good. And again, the plot of this, I didn't know where it was going. It just kept spiraling, and I was like, well, where is it going? Where's it going to end? It was just a crazy movie. So definitely one I'd recommend. I had an absolute blast with this film. Yeah. 28 is going to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This was a Marvel film. This was the one I was least looking forward to this year. I think Probably because, you know, we know Spider-Man, we knew Black Widow, so they were pretty safe bets. I was going to enjoy them. And with everything the Eternals had going for it, I thought that would be the better film. But I genuinely enjoyed Shang-Chi more. I thought that the action in this was great. The choreography was fantastic. I thought that he was such an interesting character. I loved all the side characters. The villain was fantastic. There was a couple twists and turns, surprise cameos and stuff in it, which I loved. And I know people have a big problem when Marvel do big CGI ends, which is fine if it feels unwarranted. But I don't think it is here. I sort of feel like this is awesome. This is what Shang-Chi's like in the comics. This is great. I really love the ending. 27 is going to nobody. Bob Odenkirk shows us that, yes, he has John Wick in him. He has that level of filmmaking. In fact, I'd say this is even better than a couple of the John Wick films. Bob Odenkirk is just so awesome in this. There's an action sequence on a bus, which is some of the best filmmaking I've seen this year. Like, the camera work and the choreography was fantastic. Yeah, if you like action films, this is one of the best ones this year, without a doubt. Speaking of action films, 26 is going to No Time to Die, James Bond. This is in my top 10 video, this is a film which a few people called me out and saying, where was this? Yeah, I mean, I have to say, 26 really isn't that bad out of 104 films. I really still like No Time to Die. This is the most risky Bond film we've ever had. It has some balls to it. Daniel Craig gives his best performance as Bond. And yeah, it's just a really, really fascinating story. It's the most emotional Bond film I think we've ever got. Is it the best Bond film? Absolutely not. Is it the worst? No. It's a very solid movie. Maybe a little bit too long, but yeah. Bond was a very, very good time. And coming in 25th place is going to be Free Guy, Mr. Ryan Reynolds. Now, I know some people weren't a huge fan on this, but I've noticed the people that weren't a huge fan on it are kind of the older generation. I think that's because this film does appeal to modern-day gamers like myself. Like, if you've played GTA and stuff, like GTA 5, this film reminded me so much playing that game. It poked fun at stuff like that so much. I thought the characters were charming. I thought the plot was clever. I loved everything about this movie, to be honest. It was just so fun. Yeah, it is a typical modern-day big blockbuster, epic. But it was really fun and really enjoyable. So, yeah. Okay, 24. Getting into the top ones now. Malcolm and Marie. Yeah, this came out so early in the year. And some people loved it and some people really didn't get the hype. And that's fine. I could see why you didn't. It's a one-shot film. Oh, not one-shot, sorry. It's a one-scene location film. You know, it's all set in their house. Black and white. And at the start of the movie, the dialogue was quite rocky, I must admit. It's like they were explaining to the audience everything that happened earlier on in night. So that part was really good because we were there because of this. And I was really struggling to find enjoyment in it. But then after the first act, this film really improved for me. I thought John David Washington and Zendaya's acting was incredible. I thought their chemistry was really good. And I could understand why they were getting mad at each other. And I think that for the dialogue to do that, it was really interesting. There was a lot of good stuff in this film. I had a good time with it. Then we got Judas and the Black Messiah, one of the most important films to come out this year. You know, it's a hard film to get through because it's just so important. There's a lot to take in with it. Now, I'd say the performances in this film are incredible. Alongside that, some of the cinematography was beautiful. The pacing in this film was fantastic. And yeah, this is definitely a film I'll be revisiting a bit. I've got the Blu-ray. It's one that I'll be watching a lot. Next up, in 22nd, we have House of Gucci. One of Ridley Scott's 2 films this year. Definitely not his best out of the 2. Yeah, I mean, you know, Lady Gaga is incredible in this movie. She's fantastic. If she doesn't get you know, she should definitely be going up for the Oscar. I personally would give it to Kristen Stewart. But she should be going up for it. Adam Driver, once again, is fantastic. Jeremy Irons, I've got to give that man a shout as well. But Al Pacino is fantastic as well. But yeah, Jared Leto seemed like he was in a different movie. But yeah, I love the first 2 acts of this. I knew nothing about the family of Gucci, so I thought that was fascinating. But the last act seemed to bottle it a bit for me. But yeah, overall, still a really good film, though. 21st is going to Lamb. We've had Pig and Lamb this year. I'm on a year now where we get like dog, cat, you know, horse, sheep. I want to just get all these types of films out. This is an A24 film, which was... I showed this clip, I showed a couple clips to a few of my mates, and they thought it looked so strange. It is very strange. A half sheep, half human. Really, really weird. And yeah, the thing with this movie is, it is kind of just, how would people react to it? And there's very different reactions to this new sheep man baby. But the film has a very poetic side to it, where it feels like the film does a full circle, where by the end of it, you're like, wow, actually, should have seen this coming from the start. And it's very clever. Some of the cinematography is gorgeous, and the dialogue is great. So yeah, Lamb, I thoroughly entertained. Coming in 20th place is going to be Zack Snyder's Justice League. I was dreading this movie so much. I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder, to be honest. I mean, I don't mind him, but I hate the original Justice League. I was so sick of hearing about this movie before it even came out. I was not looking forward to it. I found the trailers very preachy. I thought it was going to be crap, and do you know what? It was really good. It was really good. But for a 4-hour film, it kept me so entertained. The cinematography was surprisingly good. The score was fantastic. The acting from about 80% of the cast was awesome. The visuals were fantastic. The plot was really interesting. It felt like it come straight off comic book pages. Fair play. I want to see this DC universe continue. So yeah, surprised the hell out of me. 19th is going to Raya and the Last Dragon. Disney animation movie, one of their 2 films this year. This was a good film, not a great film. First off, the animation style was fantastic. I loved all the characters, and I thought the plot was interesting. Where this film got a bit weak, I think there was a couple side characters like the babies, which were a bit much for me. Or the baby and its friends. What were they, bears or raccoons? I can't even remember. And the villain's motivation was a bit weak as well, I thought. You know, it didn't really make much sense. But Raya and the Last Dragon, though, still very entertaining. As I say, the animation, gorgeous. 18th is going to Cruella, a film I was not particularly interested in, and it actually just surprised me. I thought the costumes were fantastic. I thought Emma Stone and Emma Thompson gave 2 fantastic performances. I thought the pacing of the film was great. The plot was just so much more interesting than it needed to be. At the start of this year, I thought, who cares about a Cruella film? And then I watched it, I was like, this is really good. The music is a bit much at times, but the music choices are fantastic. Wow, there was actually some real nice style to this movie. And I feel like if the costumes don't get a nod and wink at the Oscars, then there's... I don't know, I feel like there's some snubbing for Disney or something there. Next up, 17 is going to The Green Knight. A film which you're either going to love or hate. For me, I liked it a lot. I wouldn't quite say I loved it, but I liked it a lot. Yeah, visually this film is great. The cinematography is great. The score is really good as well, and the acting is fantastic. I really found the plot interesting as well. This journey that he was going on, not knowing what could turn up next. And, you know, the kind of psychological side of it as well. It really makes you think. Yeah, it's a bit over the top sometimes. It's a bit, I don't know, I feel like the film it's taking itself way too serious. I'm trying to think of a word to describe it. Because there's definitely a couple of problems with this movie that I have, where it feels like it's being overly pretentious almost. And I really do feel like it is. But it works for the film's favour a lot of the time. So yeah, The Green Knight, really good time. 16 is going to The French Dispatch, Wes Anderson's new movie. I absolutely love Wes Anderson. He's a fantastic director, one of my personal favourites. Yeah, this film was fantastic. I loved the 3 story parts to it. I thought it was just fascinating going into these worlds and seeing them all come together in the form of The French Dispatch at the end. The actors throughout were all fantastic. Benedict Del Toro was one of the standouts for me. Bill Murray's just always a good time as well. Really, really solid film. And then, coming in 15th, we have Encanto, the other Disney animated movie. This one, I personally liked more than Raya. I thought it was a better movie. The music was fantastic. I thought the story was more interesting. Felt more wholesome and more rounded. It made a lot more sense. because the side characters were so much more interesting in this one as well. And I felt like the ending was earned as well. And Lin-Manuel Miranda is just a genius. I didn't think the animation was quite as good as Ray, though. I'll say that. 14 is going to The Power of the Dog, which I know a lot of people didn't like. I loved it. I felt like this is a film which relied solely on interesting characters and great acting. And because the characters were interesting and the acting was great, the plot was allowed to move as well. Not feeling so forced or dull at times. It really moved well. The cinematography was gorgeous, even with a few rocky CGI moments. And the score was fantastic. And I feel like the runtime was pretty perfect as well. This was a great, great movie. 13 is going to The Last Duel, Ridley Scott's other film. I just dropped my iPad on the floor. Excuse me. Ridley Scott's other movie. This was definitely better than House of Gucci. I don't know why this wasn't marketed more than House of Gucci. Because the marketing for this was awful. But yeah, it's hard to get away with a film where it tells the same story 3 times technically and involves a rape scene. It's hard to do that. So I give him a lot of credit for keeping it interesting. I want to say the sets and the costumes were incredible. They blew me away. The sound mixing was fantastic in this movie. And the acting, Jodie Comer was, she's so great. And Adam Driver, again, love that man. Okay, 12 is going to A Quiet Place Part 2. It's just on the same level as the first one for me. Fantastic. John Krasinski has proven to be an incredible director. I want to see him do a movie that isn't A Quiet Place. I want to see him do something else because, wow, I love that man. The acting all around is brilliant. Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy, killing it in this movie. Some jump scares which were great. And yeah, the pacing was fantastic. What a fantastic movie. Ghostbusters Afterlife, just missed out my top 10, so we sort of know where we're at now. We know what films are coming, so I'm going to breeze through these. Ghostbusters Afterlife, whoa, the emotions were high in this one, they really were. There's a couple pacing issues with this film, but I feel like all the characters, bar one, works really well. I wasn't a big fan of Finn Wolfhard's character, felt like he was a bit forced in there, but I loved the story, I loved these new additional characters. I thought they handled certain subjects in this film really well. Yeah, it borrows from the first film a lot, but I feel like when we've waited this long for a proper sequel, it's kind of warranted. It's great. The visuals are fantastic. Really, really good movie. Okay, so top 10. I've done a top 10 list, so we're going to go quick here. Number 10 is Dune. There's pacing issues with this one, and I felt like the ending was a bit underwhelming, but it is part 1 of a part 2. However, saying that, the visuals and the score make up for that so much. The cinematography is beautiful. The acting is incredible. Wow, this film is fantastic. I love it, I love it, I love it. In the Heights is my number 9. I'm a big fan of Hamilton. I've watched a lot of In the Heights footage from the stage play on YouTube before this came out. I just love Lin-Manuel Miranda. I think he's fantastic. The music was incredible in this. The pacing was great. I love the story, the characters, the acting. It's all great. My only issue with this film is the colour palette. It's meant to be the hottest summer ever in Manhattan. And it didn't look very hot. Number 8 is The Suicide Squad, James Gunn. Wow, this man is fantastic. You can really feel his style bleeding through this movie. I love everything about it. I love the look of it. I love how gruesome and over the top it was with its swearing and stuff. The character choices were fantastic. Who would have thought that they would make Polka Dot Man a more interesting character than Taskmaster in the same year? King Shark was fantastic. I loved everything about this film. I just feel like there was a little subplot with Harley Quinn about half an hour into the film, which pulled me out of the film a bit. But then once that's over, you're straight back in. Tick, Tick, Boom is my number 7. The directing movie debut of Lin-Manuel Miranda. Wow, what a fantastic movie. The songs in this are constantly on repeat, still on my playlist. Andrew Garfield gives one of the best performances of the year in this film. The story is just so interesting, so complex, of course, based on true events. I really don't have enough good things to say about this film. We're talking about pretty perfect films from here on out, to be honest. Wow, incredible movie. Oh, I can really feel my voice going now. Okay, 6 films to go. Luca, Pixar's animated movie. Yeah, as I said earlier, I love the animation style of this one. I've said this many times now. It reminds me of those old Beano comic book strips where the mouses sort of float up their faces. I thought the story to this was really warm and really, really charming. I love seeing different cultures in these animated movies now. We're seeing Italy here, Like, we got to see Mexico and Coco. You know, fantastic. The characters were so charming. The voice acting was great. I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. Number 5 is going to West Side Story. Steven Spielberg is back. West Side Story is one of the few remakes now I prefer to the original. The music's really good, but what stands out to me in this one is the set designs. It really looks like they've gone back to the 1960s with modern day cameras and filmed then. The costumes were great. I really like a lot of the actors. I feel like they're putting in great performances. Yeah, there's a few issues I have with this one. But overall, you know, I think the issues I have with this movie are kind of the original's fault, because this is a remake in terms of character work. But wow, what a great movie. Number 4 is going to Spider-Man No Way Home. What a fantastic movie. This was the most epic film of the year. There was so much they had to do in this film, so much they had to juggle, that I'm really surprised they pulled it off, but they did. It didn't feel messy at all. The pacing was great. All the character work was fantastic. The visuals were incredible. And this was just the most hype movie of the year. It was great. I'm not shocked it's done $1 billion. I'm so happy it's done $1 billion. I hope people keep going to see it. I hope it makes even more money. Coming in at number 3 is going to be King Richard. For me, this has the best performance of the year with for male actors, with Will Smith in the role here. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal in this role. John Barnthorpe was also fantastic. I didn't know the backstory of the Williams sisters, so I thought this was fascinating. And I loved it. I thought it was great. The cinematography was gorgeous. And just a fascinating movie. I loved it. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Number 2 is going to Spencer. I've said this before, not really too interested in the Royals or Diana. But wow, this film blew me away with its cinematography. Its score was incredible. I love the horror elements, which I wasn't expecting. Kristen Stewart gives the best female performance of the year. If she doesn't get the Oscar, I'm going to be shocked. I love the fact that it's set over 3 days instead of your bog standard biopic where it tells their whole life story, more or less. I think it gave the filmmakers a lot more fun, gave them a lot more to play with and stuff. So yeah, great movie. But my number 1 of the year is going to be Last Night in Soho, Edgar Wright's new film. Because I said this in my top 10 video, in terms of filmmaking and entertainment, this film hit both perfectly. It's technically not the best made movie I've seen this year, but in terms of entertainment, it's so high up there with Spider-Man, where, you know, I think this film had a perfect blend of both. I loved it. It's not my favourite Edgar Wright film. For me, Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead is still the best, but this is still such a great movie. Thomas and Mackenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy and Matt Smith killed it. I love this movie so much. Woo-hoo-hoo! There we go! Oh, I'm sort of one of the few times I'm proud of myself, because, you know, pat me on the back. Feels like that video turned into work there. But hey, I hope you enjoyed it. That is every movie released in 2021 I saw. I say there's a few movies I haven't seen. The Kingsman, Come On, Come On, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, there are a few films there that I haven't seen. But there's all the films that I have seen, ranked from my least favourite to my favourite. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to go lay down for a bit. Play my Switch. But anyway, thanks so much for watching as always, guys. I'll see you next time for another video. Bye-bye.